American dream means to me what it means to every American.
What does it mean to every American?
It means something different for every American. And that is part of the American dream. To believe in something that is different from what is allowed to be different. Something that doesn't have to be the same as your fellow citizens, as your fellow Americans. You can make it up if you want. You could believe in a flying spaghetti monster, or you can believe in a ancient god that was made up thousands of years ago. You could not believe in a god. You could, and I mean, I'm only using the example of religion.
Well, I think it means a lot of things. Like when I picture the American dream, I picture like the classic like white picket fence and like just living with a family, like living on a steady income and just everyone like having whatever they want like within their lives.
To me, the American dream means something like being able to use the particular resources and liberties we have for the purpose of what they used to call self-actualization. I think nowadays one would say in order to develop one's gifts and abilities in ways that are natural to the person, in ways that are natural to the individual, rather than being coerced into some kind of productive slot that is life diminishing. In other words, to use what's available for life affirmation.
To me, that about like it means wealth, or having, or being able to do what you want to do with, you know, the house with 2 kids and a nice car.
I think the American dream is just like opportunity. Just seizing anything that you want, being able to have the opportunity to go after what you want with very limited restrictions.
The ideal that I just expressed, I would say, is not completely established. And there have been times where things have mostly been the same in the United States of America. While laws tell us that we can, do what we want, and that we can believe in what we want, we can have our own opinions, whether it's on the subjects of religion, politics, or sports. Peer pressure of democracy is really powerful. So that influences people more than one would think into conforming.
I feel like it's probably changed. Like everything changes when like technology is just like spreading out like everywhere, and like especially like people used to come here to like escape their governments and like have like religious and other kinds of freedoms, and I feel like that was the American dream for them. And like I suppose that probably still happens nowadays, but I feel like it's not as much as it was, I guess.
What's totally changed, having been around for a little longer time, when I was a kid, which would have been at the end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s, the American dream was very much focused on certain material, sort of fundamental building blocks that had to be there. You had to have a house in the suburbs, you had to have your station wagon, you probably should have a dog, and you should have 2.5 kids. That was very strong. And then that changed through the 60s when a lot of people were less interested in a lot of challenges to values, a lot of challenges to post-war values. And that's kind of where my consciousness kicks in, is in the 60s, which is why I keep talking about self-actualization and like that. And then it has changed again, I would say, during the 70s and 80s, and right now it's really very different. The pendulum is swinging back to conspicuous consumption, in my opinion. You not only have to consume now, it's not only desirable for many people to consume, you have to consume in a way that other people can see you doing it. And that's new. Also, I find very off-putting. I think it's an ostentatious habit. I think as a social value, it's like a really terrible thing and life diminishing. But there we have it.
Of course, yeah. But that's just because everyone changes, so of course their dreams will too.
Would you say that's your American dream then?
No, I just think the American dream is exactly like, it's just a stereotype. So I guess my American dream would just be to be well off, just to be able to live my life.
Do you think you'll ever achieve the American dream?
Hopefully. It's really up in the air.
Do you think like American dreams can change over your lifetime? Like what you think you want now, maybe in the future be completely different?
It's definitely changed, particularly because values and cultural norms have changed. You know, when my grandparents were younger, the American dream was, you know, getting married, have kids, settle down, you know, and now I think it's very more career driven and more, you know, about your personal goals and ambitions instead of just the cultural.
Oh, well, both. It benefits in the sense that it gives a common direction to things, and when people are working together towards a common goal, they can get more done. Think of any wartime period where the whole war economy focuses narrowly on production of weapons. You get a lot of weapons suddenly. So, having a common dream does help with productive output, and it helps with getting that economy of scale going. But it's a dehumanizing sort of thing. So in terms of human development, I think that having a common dream is problematic. A great case study in this is to look at the South Korean economy after the Korean War as opposed to the West German economy after the World War II. In West Germany, they styled their economy more after ours because we provided a lot of money from the United States in the Marshall Plan. And so they had many, many producers producing many, many products. Koreans did it a different way. They had a small number of chaebols producing identical products. So for 30 years, there were 2 different dining room tables you could buy. That was it. But they were plentiful and they were cheap. So it's a different concept, a different kind of... Those are 2 good economies to compare and 2 good societies. Yes, totally. When I lived in Germany, I lived in East Germany. It was communist. We had different ideas about what had to happen. And what had to happen in East Germany was everybody had to participate in every decision. Nowadays, people look back and they get confused. They think, oh no, that was a dictatorship. It was, but it was what they call a dictatorship of the proletariat. There were committees and committees and committees. If anything, the coercion was to think alike. And the other principle was everybody had basic goods. So, for instance, luxury goods, coffee and chocolate, cost 2 or 3 times what they cost in the West. But basic goods like onions and bread cost just pennies a pound. And so they used pricing structures because, of course, it was a planned economy, not free market. They used pricing structures to gouge people in the luxury area, to undergird people who were having a harder time getting along. The other thing about East Germany when I was there is the lowest person on the totem pole got 300 then East German marks a month to live on. That was a old age retired person, and the wealthiest person got 2,000 marks, just 7 times. Think of the spread between the least wealthy person in the United States and the most wealthy person in the United States. It's not 7, it's not a factor of 7, it's like a factor of 1,000, 10,000 or something. It's very different.